G'day, everyone. Welcome back to the Toon podcast, Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best podcast for all things Newcastle United. I'm joined for tonight's celebration by Craig up in Mackay. Craig, how are you, mate?
I'm absolutely over the moon, mate. Eddie and his Mighty Mags have returned from 3-point lane with 3 points to Tyneside. How good is that?
Oh, I was talking about James Perch's retirement last night. Sorry.
No,
What are you talking about?
Pacino, yeah. I mean, what a career he's had, you know?
Yeah, that's what we're here. We're going to celebrate the great career of James Perch.
We got the wrong end of the story. No, Pacino.
No, we'll do the review. We'll do the review later on. No, just joking. We are here. Newcastle, another 3 points, mate, down at Spurs Stadium, which it did, especially in the intros and stuff like that. There was a lot of like wide shots and things like that. It's probably the best stadium in the UK at the moment, I reckon. And it did make me kind of think, oh, it would be really nice to have something like that in the city of Newcastle as well.
It does look ridiculously impressive. I will give you that one. And apparently everything behind the stadium, the bits that you don't really see, unless it's the fan footage and whatever, that looks ridiculously impressive too. So it's not just the stuff you see on the TV cameras. Everything else is mighty impressive. Yeah, it'd be nice to have something like that on Tyneside, but, you know, with Saudi's deeper pockets, hopefully we can take that to the next level.
Yeah, I think if they're going to do it, they're not going to do it by half at all, mate. But
anyway.
Yeah, another win, come from behind, away from home. It ticked a lot of boxes last night. The performance probably wasn't to the level of what our last kind of few performances have been, albeit this one did also have mitigating circumstances. We have gone on this run, but I think there has been a little question mark probably over every game in the run, whether it's the opposition, the availability, stuff like that. We did get Spurs on what seemed to be a great time during the week, and then after Ange's presser on Friday, it seemed like a better time when he said that there was an illness that had gone through. So given their injury list and how many blokes were left, it was hopeful that there wasn't going to be many left, and it proved that like there wasn't really. Like they did have a few out. I think Son, Madison and Basuma all started on the bench. I don't want to cast aspersions, but I'm pretty sure that would have had something to do with them being pretty crook during the week as well, because it seems pretty insane, even for Ange to start all three of them on the bench if they were fit and available, mate.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. You know, they're key players. They're players who can turn a game on a sixpence. They are quality players, especially Son when he's on his form. And Madison, he's always had decent games against us. His record against us is pretty good too. But it was good to see them start on the bench. But then you worry as we tie, are they going to be good impact subs? It almost nearly paid off for them. I was glad to see them on the bench rather than start in the starting 11.
Yeah, well, speaking of starting 11s, mate, what did you make of our starting 11? I think there was a few little teasers, maybe in the 10 or 15 minutes or so leading up to the squad announcements and stuff like that. Sven Botman, obviously the main one.
Yeah.
Confirmed not long after, I guess, the team's come out the pictures that he was starting. First of all, what were your thoughts when you did see him named on that team sheet to start his first game since March?
I thought risky, very, very risky.
Yes.
A ball in anger since March. And especially the fact that Lloyd Kelly, he's fit, he's good to go. I mean, he's no Sven Botman, even on his best day, Lloyd Kelly. Not many defenders are. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some rust. I was a little bit worried, a little bit concerned, especially against some of the pace that Spurs have, because Botman, he's never been the quickest out of the traps, but his positional play has always been pretty decent, which gets him out of trouble for that sort of thing. But it was worried, a little bit of a concern. And also to see Tino come back into the starting lineup as well. Because obviously...
I didn't really have a problem with...
Eddie said he was back, didn't he? He was good to go.
Yeah, I think the injury... I think it's probably just cramp. Like, if he's done his hamstring, there's no way he would have played, even been on the bench. So that didn't surprise me, given the short turnaround as well. Tino really only missed that Man United game because I think he was still crook and still feeling the after effects of maybe a dodgy mushy peas at Christmas time or something like that. But the Botman thing, yeah, and I understand the predicament, and I think it would have been a pretty long discussion, I reckon, at the selection table to see. I think Kelly would have started one and Botman would have started one, and I think they were just trying to work out who they wanted to do that. I don't think there's a right answer. I think both games, especially like Arsenal away as well, they're both really, really tough games for different reasons. Arsenal really, really good team. But Tottenham and the way they play, and I was thinking this probably yesterday too when we were talking about it in the group chat about we might be able to get at them and stuff like that, given their unavailability and their defence looks like it's pretty decimated too at the moment. The news was starting to filter through that Fraser Forth might have been one of the ones who were talking. He looked like he was going to miss the game. And Brandon Austin, the keeper's been there for 9 years, was going to play his first game. So having said all that, I think there was a fair bit of excitement that we could really put a cricket score on him. But knowing Ange's teams like I do, like I've followed him for the best part of 20 years and really enjoy him and the way he goes about it and the way not so much his philosophy. I don't want to sound like I'm some bloody wizard and no tactics and stuff like that. But his just philosophy is just we're just going to have a go. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to shut up shop. And he's always been like this isn't a new thing at Tottenham. He's always been like that. He's on the front foot. He wants to win. He wants his team to impose themselves on the game. And I knew it didn't matter who was playing, who wasn't playing. It was going to be the same. And they kind of just reminded me of like a T1000 in Terminator 2. You know, Craig? Like they just keep coming. It doesn't matter what you do or what happens, they're just going to keep coming. And I knew that Botman wasn't going to get much respite in this game because it was just going to be relentless, and because that's the way he plays. And it doesn't matter who he's got available. Maybe the quality's not at the level as what it could be at the moment. I think they had about 10 blokes either injured or suspended for the game, and we know all about that, especially last year and stuff like that. But I knew what was going to happen, and I didn't know if this was the one to pick him in because I knew it was going to be full on. It was going to be helter-skelter. He wasn't just be comfortable and sitting on the ball. I reckon Shah's suspensions forced them to do it. I don't think they would have wanted to. I reckon in an ideal world, they probably would have picked the FA Cup game as his first game back, a little bit more time, not as intense as what a Tottenham away and Arsenal away game is going to be. But, yeah, I kind of went, well, I don't think it's an indictment on Kelly because I think Kelly will start the Arsenal game. I just think they've just kind of gone, which one do you want to play? And which one do we think he's going to be either of greater value to us or on the same token, is he not going to be under as much pressure as well, kind of looking out for him. And the fact he got through 90 minutes was pretty incredible, I thought too, Craig. And his start wasn't great, let's be honest. His first few touches were pretty rusty, but look, that's to be expected. Like you said, he hasn't had a real. I think he played another 21s game, and I think Eddie said post game or pre game. I can't remember. It's all a blur at the moment, mate. But he definitely did say at some stage at Spurs Stadium that he had played in a couple of behind closed doors games as well. They were happy with his levels. No one knows the players like our coaches do. They see them, they analyse their training, their fitness levels, and everything like that. He's obviously hit every marker he needed to put his hand up for selection. So I think it was going to be this game or the next game. It didn't matter. And I think it wouldn't have mattered which game it was. He was going to be pretty rusty when he come back. And the fact that I didn't expect him to get jumped all over after 2 minutes and scored against, but it is what it is, mate.
Well, we've been saying it for a good number of weeks now. We score early. We could be one of them like a rash. We didn't certainly expect to concede early because defensively we've been pretty solid over the past few games.
Yeah, I think
300 plus minutes, I think it was. Yeah. Certainly didn't expect it, but it was a cracking cross on Porro, to be honest. And
mate, how good were his crosses the whole game?
Yeah, they were.
Every time he put one in, they looked like they were going to be. They caused problems and chaos, really. Like and I don't really watch much Spurs, but he's an incredible. I don't know if he crosses like that all the time, but man, if he does, he is a very, very good player.
And when you've got someone like Big Dom Solanke on the end of it, you know, you didn't really have to do much with it, just literally guide it into that bottom corner. He didn't have to put much power on or anything because the cross was that good. He used the power of the cross to generate it in. And he just out-muscled Botman, which, to be honest, there's not many strikers in the Premier League that can do that, but he is certainly one of them. Maybe that was the reason why Botman was brought in, because of Solanke's physicality, because that's something maybe Arsenal don't really have. They're a bit more nimble, their strikers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a
so
great
maybe
shout,
that was
actually.
the reason. But it was a cracking goal, to be honest. Totally unexpected, again, for how solid we've been. But Botman, I'm not going to say he was at fault for it, because it was a cracking cross in just good positional play from Solanke. But I expect Botman to iron out those little creases he's got and just step up the levels of performance. But again, everything was to be expected from him. But he actually grew into the game as well, didn't he? Botman, as if he'd never been away. Like you say, first 10 minutes, few dodgy touches, the goal, but he grew into it like he'd never been away, and it was so good to see the Rolls Royce back in action.
Yeah, and I think Eddie said he'd been training for nearly full training for nearly 6 weeks.
Aye.
So you can do all that. Like I said, you can tick off every box, you can hit every fitness marker you need to hit, and put your hand up and say I'm available, but you can't replicate a game. You just can't replicate that intensity. And you can try a training, and I'm sure from all reports they do, because they train really hard and they have to train really hard to play. They want to play, but you just can't replicate that game intensity. And 10 months, that's the biggest thing, mate. You can't just drop back in and just pick up where you left off. You got to pick up the speed of the game, the whole lot. Like, there's so much going on, and there's no doubt they probably would have targeted him too. Let's put some balls into him, knowing that he was going to be pretty rusty and stuff like that. But like you said, I think his first sort of 15, 20 minutes were pretty shaky. There was a few poor touches, a bit of lack of awareness with the speed of players were coming at him and stuff like that. But yeah, I do think he really grew into the game after that. And it's going to be really interesting to see what the future looks like for him, especially in the next 4 to 6 weeks, while he's trying to get his feet underneath him as well. But I'd argue that Dan Burn and Lewis Hall are two of our best players all year. So it's going to be pretty hard to unsee. I can't see him walking in at all. I think he's going to have to earn his place and kind of maybe hope one of them has a bit of a drop off in form to get his spot back, because I just can't see it. Dan Burn, if there was maybe a players player of the year, I reckon he'd probably win it, just because the players understand a lot more of what he's like on the pitch and stuff like that and what he brings. But
certainly a good shout. He's definitely a good shout.
Yeah, I mentioned this last week. He's probably been our most underrated. Not probably. He's clearly been our most underrated player for the whole season, and he hasn't put a foot wrong. And there's a lot of people calling for his head last year, and maybe not rightly so, but some of the stuff was out of his control. You know, he's not quick. Like, that's just the reality of it. People getting behind him, it's not quite his fault. Given the midfield that we had at the time, he wasn't getting that protection and coverage like he is now from Tonali and Joel Linton and Bruno, which kind of left him exposed. A whole heap of reasons, but this season he's been absolutely immense, and he deserves every bit of praise that he gets. So yeah, Sven Botman, great to have him back, but he's by no means a walk up for me. So we've moved on, Craig. We've conceded that first goal, unfortunately. Didn't take that long to get one back though, but this seemed to be the hotbed, the hot talking point out of the game. I'd argue there was maybe a couple more, but the handball from Joel Linton, like, there is no one is saying that it didn't hit his hand. Okay, so let's not. No, it didn't hit him. No, like that. I think it was at the Bournemouth game where they had that goal disallowed because they said it hit him too high on his shoulder, and it was like that whole sort of discussion about where does it start, where does it end. There's no discussion. It clearly hit him in the hand. Now, the referee it looked like he was in a perfect position to see it, and he clearly seen it. Now, what ensued was Bruno ends up with the ball, feeds it to Anthony Gordon, who sort of cuts in and puts one past Austin in the far corner, which was a great goal. Nearly a typical Anthony Gordon goal now that He has scored a few of them, maybe a couple better than that, but that's not saying this was a bad one. Just the other ones are really, really good. I think it's really important to know the rule. So you can disagree and you can say that shouldn't be a handball. That's fine. That should be a handball, and that's okay, but it's not the rule. So I think it's really important. Your opinion can't be swayed because the rule's the rule, all right? And the interpretation is that was the hand in a natural position? I think it was. It was by his side. He was running, like it wasn't above his head or anything crazy like that. He was pretty close to the ball. I think it would have been really hard to get his hand out of the way given the short space between him and the Tottenham player with the ball. So I think that's another marker to say, no, he couldn't have. And the key one here, and we've kind of learned this on the run too, is that the rule is it needs to directly influence the goal. Now, whether that be from the goal scorer or an assist. So if it hits my hand and I'm deemed to have maybe handballed it, Craig, but I pass it to you and you score, that's a direct involvement. So that there's a discussion there to say, no, it shouldn't be. You can't count that because it's directly involved in a goal. Because he passed it to Bruno, who then assisted Gordon. Therefore, that eliminates that part of it. It didn't directly, according to the laws. This is not my opinion. This is just the laws. It didn't directly influence the goal in terms of what constitutes that in the rule book. Now, what did you think? I didn't pick it up in real time. I probably didn't realise until they showed the replays and all the Spurs blokes kicking off that what had actually happened. What was your gut feel once you'd kind of realised what had happened?
Well, the commentators at first, they weren't even 100% sure. They thought it was a foul on the player itself. That's what they were claiming. But then when it went to the replay, as you rightly said, the ball hits him. I think it's pretty much on the fist or the hand directly as it's down by his side. And it takes a deflection off his thigh as well. So that's another part of which he can't control, the deflection itself. And the distance between his thigh to his arm is obviously minimal. The ball to Bruno does keep the ball live and keeps it in play and renders that handball useless or ineligible to be deemed by VAR to be interfering with play, let's say. And then Gordon puts it into the bottom corner. It was a perfectly legit goal. Spurs, they are having a whinge like there's no tomorrow. They're going on about this like Arsenal fans did with that out-of-ball play at St James's and that push when we went on to win the game. They are now becoming one of the same in terms of how they are reacting to this. I get the frustration. It hit the hand and it led to a goal. But you got to think, it was also their mistake that led to the goal because they tried to play out from the back and it was a sloppy pass that led to the handball as well. So they've only really got themselves to blame in that regard. It was a perfectly legit goal. I've got no problem with it whatsoever. This isn't me with me black and white glasses on. Everybody who knows the interpretation of the rule or law, whichever way you look at it, says it was a perfectly good goal. And even the Premier League, whatever, they come out and said, yep, this is the rule. Goal should have stood. No questions asked. Let's move on. But Spurs fans will not let this drop, and I guarantee you they will not let this drop, especially if we meet them in the League Cup final come March, because that could be a bit of a tasty game considering off the back of this one.
Yeah, that's a long way. We've got pretty tough games to get there. But for those of you listening as well, we'd love you to hit us up on our socials and let us know what you thought. The handball, I've got the rule here, mate, straight out of the law book, so I'll read it word for word. For the purpose of determining handball offences, the upper boundary of the arm is in line with the bottom of the armpit. It is an offence if a player, A, deliberately touches the ball with their hand or arm, for example, moving the hand arm towards the ball, which he didn't, or touches the ball with their hand or arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger, which he didn't. He was just running towards the ball and his hands were within reason. You can't run with your hands across your chest or anything. You run with your hands by your side, which he did. A player considered to have made their body unnaturally bigger when in position of their hand arm is not a consequence of or justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific situation. So that's the rule. That is straight out of the law book. Now, you can argue the rule as much as you like, but you can't question the goal because the goal's been allowed from that interpretation. Now, we can go on an absolute rant about handball, mate, all day, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. If it was up to me, if you want to be black and white, let's just make it. If your hand's not in front of your body, if the ball wasn't going to hit your body, it's a handball. If you want to, and then you just take an interpretation out of it. That's if you want to make the rule black and white. That's probably the easiest way to do it now. And that's a foul. Like if it's in the box, it's a penalty. If it's around the ground, it's a free kick. Then I guess it's up to the referee's jurisdiction as to whether how deliberate it was, and then he can start maybe handing cards out depending on his interpretation of the deliberateness of it all. But yeah, that's the rule. I really don't think it's much of a discussion. If you know the rule, I don't think you can honestly come to a conclusion and say, oh, geez, I think Spurs were hard done by, given the ruling of it. You can argue the rule till you're blue in the face, but that's not going to change that. Now, let's just maybe expand this into a bit more of a discussion about the referee in general. I think for all Spurs fans, I think Ange was pretty wound up after the game about the situation as well, but you can kind of understand his gripes given their kind of form at the moment, their injury list, the pressure that he's probably starting to get under, and I think he is starting to feel that a bit, and it's a bit unlike him. He doesn't really I've never seen him like that before, and I think most, I guess, Aussies who have followed him for a long time would probably argue they haven't really seen him like that before as well, but pressure does funny things to people. But the refereeing in general, Craig, was let's just call it how it is. It was shit all game. So they can complain about the handball, which is fine. They're not right, but I can understand why you'd be upset. They really undermanned, had a really great spirited performance and got nothing out of the game. So I can understand why they'd be aggrieved. Joel Linton seemed to do Joel Linton again and just parade around and clatter in a blokes for most of the game. It took him a fair while to pick up that yellow card as well, which is typical him, really. So I can understand all that, but you've got to. I like to think of myself as a very neutral lensed sort of observer, Craig. I think you've got a bit more of a black and white tinge on things than what I do, but I'd like to think my lenses are clear. So I can completely understand the Joel Linton gripes. The Dan Burn second yellow card, that's clutching a little bit. I think at straws. I'd argue his first yellow card was pretty soft in the scheme of things anyway. But if you're going to be critical of the referee, I think you need to talk about a penalty we probably arguably should have got for Anthony Gordon, who was completely clattered in the face. I thought he had a broken nose, but I think it seems to be just a cut from all reports after the game as well. That could easily be, if that was given a penalty, there's no way that was getting overturned on VAR. And we have seen Anthony Gordon in the past get penalties from unsuspecting opponents. You know, he's snuck up on them. They've gone to kick him. They've kicked him, like different things like that. He's really good at it. And they've been given. I don't think this was any different to that, really. He's turned. This bloke's come in and completely clattered him in the face. Solanke on Dubravka. I understand he is going for the ball, but there is still a duty of care to players, especially goalkeepers. They're a bit more protected than what the outfield players are. I think if that's anywhere else on the field, it's definitely a yellow card. I don't know. I don't think it's a red card for violent conduct or anything like that. But like how that's not a booking has got me absolutely. That was flabbergasted. And another thing, he didn't quite pick it up in real time, but as soon as you seen the replay, I think everyone thought, oh, they're gaming again and taking the piss and shithousing and that. But when you actually seen the replay, and I thought Gordon was the same, but it's not until you seen the replay of that you're like, oh shit, he's actually flushed him on the face there. Like it's a pretty serious thing. And then kind of sat up and the blood was pouring out of his nose, which went, oh shit, he has clipped him. you got to look at these things neutral, though, don't you, Craig? The referee was shit for everyone.
Oh, he was, yeah. He did not have bias towards any particular team. However, he was a bit a yellow card happy with us in comparison to Spurs.
Yeah.
I do think it should have been a bit more even in terms of yellow cards. That's the only gripe in terms of maybe leaning more towards one side than the other. I do think Porro should have had a yellow card as well, because he basically body checked Gordon in the same way that Dan Burn did. And it didn't take until the 99th minute.
Botman towards the end of the game as well done exactly the same thing. The bloke passed, went and ran straight into Botman, who picked up a yellow card. And there was times I think Gordon was fouled, but getting grabbed by not being able to, and it was just a free kick. No, and I'm like, come on, like that is, it's just shit.
What did you make of the ref blowing for the free kicks on their keeper every time we even looked at him, compared to again the treatment that Dubravka was getting from corners? I mean, again, I'm not trying to paint like he's leaning one side towards the other, but I do think because it was his debut, maybe he was being a bit lenient towards that keeper. Because again, we couldn't even look at him with him blown for a free kick. I thought the ref had an absolute shocker for both teams, but I think it was maybe a bit worse for us.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I thought the tactic of creating him maybe once or twice to make him feel a bit uncomfortable, but then, like, we never looked like scoring. I think we've got to actually just go back to trying to score from corners and put some pressure on him with shots rather than just creating him and hope it happened. Like, I think Byrne got tackled. Botman, I think, ended up in the goal with him at one stage from them. Like, I don't know how you get a free kick in that situation. It's like they might have been doing that to the keeper, but at the same time, they're like grabbing us and sort of shoveling us out, which this isn't this game. This is every game. Like, corners are kind of like, all right, all bets are off. It's a free for all at a corner. You can do whatever you like. And so we've got a thing here in Australia. I'm not sure what day it is. It's the first of 1 month, I think. It's called Territory Day. Have you heard of that, Craig?
Nah, knew what I mean.
Nah, so it's basically one day a year in the Northern Territory where you can basically do what you want. It's a free for all. If you want to set off fireworks all day, go your hardest. There's no repercussions and stuff like that. It seems like it's Territory Day every time there's a corner in the Premier League at the moment with the holding and stuff like that, because there's no way, if you're outside that rectangle, there's no way you're getting away with it. But inside the rectangle, free for all. Same as someone's having a shot for goal, people can fly in, studs up, trying to block the shot. They can collect them on the kneecap. No worries. It's a great effort. If you've done that on a pass, it's a red card, like on the outfield. There's no two ways about it. So there are kind of two different sets of rules, one for the outfield, one for corners and things that happen inside the box. But the ref, and then, so here's me. We should have mentioned this at the start. It was 11:30 kickoff for us here in Victoria and New South Wales, 10:30 for you, Craig, which isn't too bad actually. But I stayed up. We had a bit of the cricket, not a bit of the cricket. Watched a lot of the cricket yesterday, and then rolled into our Big Bash, which is our 2020 tournament here in Australia. Finished about 10:30. I was planning on maybe going down for an hour or so, but just raw dogged it all the way through, mate. 10 minutes pissed me off because I just wanted to go to bed by not had enough. Yeah. And then when the 10 went to about 14, and I don't know where he got 10 from, considering that Liverpool game when he bloody blew it to the second.
Yes.
I'm not sure where he's plucked 10. Like, I know Gordon was down for a little bit, so was Dubravka, but there was no goals. I don't know where he's plucked 10 from. I think that's a Newcastle thing, that the stigma of time wasting and stuff like that. No, you're not getting away with that. We're gonna make sure you play every second. But and then to extend it to 14, my God, mate, like, come on. I don't even think there was VAR checks in the second half from memory, was it?
Not that I remember, no. Nothing.
No, I think there was
anyway.
No, I think there was one. There was definitely one for our first goal with the handball and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure there was one for our second goal for offside.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there was for that. So I understand the 4 minutes at the end of the first half, but there was no checks, only two sort of medical stoppages, and then the subs. Like 10 minutes is ridiculous. And mate, when it's 20 to 2 in the morning, you haven't been to bed, you're not even having a drink. Like, you just want to go to bed. But I just want to quickly touch too on that second goal. Great finish. I don't think he meant it by any stretch. I think he swung his leg and it sort of collected it on the way through when it come off that the Spurs player.
Yeah.
But Jacob Murphy involved again. Now we've had a mini heat wave here in Victoria, mate, and not a piss-taking one, a legitimate one. We've had 38 degree days here, Saturday and Sunday. So it's been a lot of inside time. Yesterday afternoon, went to the beach late last night, but decided to watch the club's 47-minute goal package from 2024 yesterday afternoon. Treated myself. Jacob Murphy is, if you watch that highlights package, you'd swear he was a world-class winger. How many goal involvements and stuff he's been in. And he was at it again yesterday too. And I still don't think he's kept the credit he deserves. So Miggy had that purple patch, which was great, but that was the flash in the pan. It was kind of like a 3/4 of a season, maybe a full season if you want to be generous, but he's never looked like producing anything like that again. Murphy's been really good last year, and he's involved in a lot of our good stuff, and he's sort of backed it up again this year. So a quick shout out to Jacob Murphy too, his involvement, the goal. He seems to have a real unselfish kind of attitude when it comes to assisting the big dog and stuff like that. He's always looking for him. So I think they've formed a really, really good partnership together. So just a big quick shout out to Jacob Murphy as well, mate. I think he's been great.
He has, yeah. And I totally get what he was talking about, the criticism. I think if his surname was Murfinho, then fans would lay off him a little bit, But it is just because he came from, was it Norwich he came from, wherever it was? And he came in for at least like 14 million quid or whatever, and he never really,
which was a lot of money when it happened.
It was, yeah. Back in Rafa, I think it was Rafa that brought him in, and he never set the world the leg when he came here. A few loan spells, but he's knuckled down and he's done everything Eddie has asked for him. And if Eddie wasn't happy with his performance in any which way, he would not be in that starting lineup. But he's creating, and he's not only creating, but he's also scoring as well. So he's had the odd assist, the odd few goals. And the best thing is, with those 2 goals we scored yesterday, this morning, whenever it was now, a bit confused.
A bit of both.
A bit of both.
I think the first one was yesterday and the second one was today.
The fact all front 3 players were involved in those goals. So you had Gordon scoring the first, you had Murphy with the assist, and Isak tucking it away. If your front 3 are that effective every game, you're always going to create chances and you're always going to score. And that's all we can ask for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been great. But just on that goal too, mate, the big dog, 7 in a row, which draws him level with, do you know which 2 players it's drawn him level with for most consecutive goals?
I do. You've got Sir Alan Shearer, the legend, and Willikinho.
Correct. I didn't know as if you weren't going to know that. But funny you say Sir Alan Shearer. It made me think the other day when I seen that Gareth Southgate's getting knighted. I'm like, how does Gareth Southgate get knighted and Alan Shearer still hasn't been? Like, have I missed, like, you're probably more in tune with.
I think Shearer's got an OBE, but he's not a Sir, obviously. Yeah, he's got an OBE, but he's not a Sir. But
so Gareth Southgate's, he's lost a couple of finals in major tournaments. So that's a tick. But like Alan, this isn't biased. This is, I think, is Les Ferdinand's a Sir, isn't he?
No, he's just appointed an honorary Sir by us Newcastle fans, but he's not an actual Sir.
Oh, he is then. That's probably more relevant than what the official royal family one is. But like, given his services to the game as well, and his charity work, he's got the foundation and stuff like that. Like, I think he should be knighted before Gareth Southgate. Like, that's just a really stupid thing. And then, given the career that he's had, we could have Sir James Perch as well. Like. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy. But back to the big dog. He is the first player to score in 4 successive away games. Do you know the last bloke to do that, Craig?
Ooh, that's a good one. 4 consecutive away games.
I'll give you the decade. It was in the 90s.
In the 90s.
In the 90s.
Now, we had a few spells in the 90s, and what era in the 90s? Early, mid, or late? Howard, gives a clue.
Ah, shit. Early to mid.
Early to mid. Mickey Quinn?
No.
No, he was early 90s. Scott Sellers?
No, Peter Beardsley.
Oh, God. How did I not even contemplate Beardsley? Jesus Christ.
That's all right, mate. We'll give you a consolation prize. You can come back next time. You can't play for the major prize tonight, but we're happy. We'll give you a consolation. Maybe we might send you a mug, Toon under mug or something like that, mate. But like you said, we was talking about earlier that the Spurs did come second half. They were really, really aggressive. We kind of went back into our shell and defended our lead, hopefully maybe nicking something on the break. But they were pretty good with the ball. They didn't really give us much chance to break and to actually put pressure on their keeper and test him out and stuff like that. It was pretty nervous. I must admit I was pretty flat after the game, mate. I did have a little bit of a wager on the game for over 3.5 goals, and at halftime I thought I'm on here. And I did parlay that for a few other games as well. That was the only one I didn't get because no one scored, which was pretty annoying. But still, it doesn't matter, mate. Money's money. Happy with the points. Takes us up to. It doesn't take us. It keeps us in fifth. With that little bit of a buffer too, and given the Chelsea result, drawing at Crystal Palace, it does put us within a point of them in fourth, which is going to be really important. We have got on paper what looks like a nice little run of games, Premier League games in January. So hopefully we can capitalise that and really kind of solidify ourselves in that top 5. I'm not sure of the European coefficient rankings at the moment, mate, but reports on Twitter have sort of looked like that 5th might get us Champions League for next season as well. So, yeah. So it's looking forward to that. Hopefully we can do it. I just want to touch on Ange's comments too, mate. Like, if you're looking for a conversation about him, you're not getting one out of me because I'm never going to pot the bloke. And I can understand his frustration about not getting anything out of the game. I think their second half was really, really good. They probably deserved a goal, but to be honest, they had that kind of kick across the face of goal. One bloke had a shot. It might have been Madison had one. It's flown across the face of goal. Some blokes had another one. It's gone across the other face of goal. I think Brennan Johnson might have hit the post from a really, really tight angle, which I don't even know if the ball would have went in given the angle he was on too. But apart from that, Madison had that curling shot. Yeah. It just went wide when he come on. They didn't really threaten, but it was like I can understand the recency bias too. Like the second half, they had 9 shots at our goal, 67% possession. So I do understand he probably thought they did deserve something out of the game, and maybe they did, but the reality is they didn't. And you can call it sour grapes and you can call it sookie and all that, whatever you like, but in my opinion, this is what really, really good managers do, Craig. When the heat's on, they divert. And Unai Emery done the same thing against us, Aston Villa. They lost, I think that was their maybe 4th or 5th away game on the bounce that they'd lost, having trouble with the scorers. Instead of anyone focusing on the performance, he's flipped it on the ref and made that the talking point. Now, Ange was really very, I don't know what the word is, but he was very happy with his team and the way they played, given the circumstances they were under and stuff like that. But what did you make of it, mate? Did you make of it as sour grapes, or Ange kind of just praising his players to the point where if things had gone our way, we probably would have got something out of the game?
Well, the whole level playing field, we would have got something out of it is, as you mentioned, a deflection to take away from the fact that his team just couldn't finish. They had one clear-cut chance in the entire game, and that's the one that they took. Yes, they hit the post, as you mentioned, but I don't think it was going in again, as you mentioned. But that was pretty much it. Dubravka, he didn't really have that much to do, apart from straighten his jaw from when Solanke kneed him in the face. But that's pretty much about it. It is a deflection tactic from what he's doing to take the heat off his players, because they have now lost 10 games in the league already this season. They are 15 points behind where they were at this stage of last season. So that's a massive step back for them. He will be feeling the pressure. There's no doubt about that. But to come out and make the comment that he did, where he wouldn't actually physically answer the question, he would just repeat himself about, on a level playing field, we would have won. He wouldn't say whether he's blaming the players, whether he's blaming the ref, whether he's blaming our players, whatever. He wouldn't
on the injuries.
Wrong.
Yeah, so that's a smart way to answer the question. It's really open-ended, and you can
he's not going to get open to an FA or a Premier League tribunal where he's going to get cited or anything like that. But if you come out and say the referee made some absolute blunders in this one, this is what's cost us the game, rather than just saying it was a level playing field. If he's honest with himself, that's what he would have come out with. But as you said, he's been quite smart with it, and I kind of get why he's done that. But the way and the manner he's done it just reeks a little bit of Arteta in that regard. Not quite a full-blown Lego head, but there's definitely a whiff of it there. And I'm just a better person than Arteta by every single measure in the short time I've known him to be the Spurs manager. Hopefully he doesn't have a little run like that again, because he does seem like a genuine person. But yeah, I just thought he went a little bit above board and just overcautious in his response, and just not giving or answering the questions that were put towards him.
Yeah, and I've got this, and I've heard this from a few coaches as well, is that it's really hard to front up to a press conference straight after a game. Like, there's still, not every game obviously, but there is still games and times where you're emotive and things like that, and it's really hard to kind of control yourself on what you're saying in some circumstances where you do feel hard done by, given if that, like you said, if that's a referee, is he open-ended? Is it you know what, it is probably a bit of everything, given that he kept saying how proud he was of the performance and things like that. It might be a little bit about, he feels like a level playing field might be not having 10 blokes injured and illness gone through the club the whole week, and blokes are under the weather. Like you said, it's so open-ended. If anyone ever questioned him, no, that's what I meant. I was just talking about level playing field, as in, like, they look pretty healthy. They've got one of their starting centre-backs just come back from a knee reco. Look at us. Look at our injury list. Look at the blokes we've got playing. We've got kids on the bench. Like, that whole thing. Like, it's really smart, and he's under the pump. Like,
he is, but I just want to take you back 12 months ago, when we were in exactly the same situation. Never once did Eddie come out after, say, the defeat against Bournemouth. Did he come out and have a rant or a rave like that against the referee, the opposition, or anything like that at all? And we were in exactly the same situation, if not possibly worse, to be honest.
I reckon we're on the bench. I reckon we're a bit worse. We're a bit worse.
Yeah. So in terms of looking at from a level playing field from that, we've been in that situation. We know exactly what Ange and Spurs fans are going through. He did not need to go on that rant. He could have said, you know what, we tried our best with what we had on the pitch. It wasn't good enough on the day. We'll reload and go again. You could have just said something simple as that. Yes, I understand his anger and frustration because they haven't got anything from the game, but don't take it out and leave an open interpreted question when he's now going to get slated in the media because of that.
No. See, I reckon he won't. I reckon that'll be the handball is the talking point, and he's poured fuel on the fire without actually striking the match and throwing it on. Yeah. He's just gone.
And I agree with that.
Like that. And I think it's smart, and I think all really good coaches do it. And to me, Eddie's the outlier in most managers in the Premier League, with his boring, some might say vanilla responses to most of the questions that he gets asked. I think the only time I've really seen him dig the players a little bit was after the Brentford game. I thought he did dig the players out a little. He didn't individualise anyone, but in public, he's normally really vanilla. And some of that, and Jack spoke about this in the group chat the other day, if you actually watch a press conference, that some of the questions he gets asked is embarrassing. Like, they're some of the worst. Like, I've got 100 questions I'd love to ask him, and I reckon I'd get some pretty good answers, and these blokes are just asking the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life. So he doesn't really, and I think that the London media is probably a little bit more savage. Spurs being the club they are, people love to dig their boots into them, and it seems to be one catastrophe into the next one. So I think they are a lot more easy to clickbait and stuff like that than what Eddie is. And like, he doesn't give him anything anyway. So I think they are different people. I think, look, Guardiola, he'll do the same thing. He'll go off on a tangent if he won't come out and say his players have been really bad and stuff like that. He'll just fire open questions out and leave the reporters to kind of write their own stories. Slot seems like he's pretty measured. He seems like he's more in the Eddie Howe. But if you're 5 points clear with 2 games in hand, you'd be probably pretty cool, calm, and collected. Like, it's a bit different when you feel like you're under the pump and your job's on the line. Blokes are dropping like flies, and you don't know where your next win's coming from. So I do kind of understand why he's done it and how he's done it. But yeah, I love the way Eddie handles his press conferences and the way he's never too high and he's never too low, and that's I love about him. I think from behind closed doors, I reckon he's a bit of a lunatic. From all reports, he's really hard on the training pitch, but I think he needs to be, and that attitude and that sort of ruthlessness on the training pitch drives performance at training, which in turn will probably drive performance on game days and stuff as well, mate. Yeah. So that might do it. We'll wrap it up, mate. It's been a long day.
It has
been a hot day, but it's been a bloody good one, mate.
Always good when the Toon pick up 3 points.
They are, and something we're doing regularly, which is absolutely fantastic. So thanks, everyone, for watching, listening. Please leave us a comment. Love to hear about your referee thoughts, your penalty shouts, your Dubravka thoughts, your handball shouts, anything. Love to hear it all. We'll be back. I'm not sure if we're going to have time to punch out a preview for the Arsenal game, mate, but we'll definitely be back on, is it Wednesday or Thursday morning?
Wednesday we're doing the review, I believe it is,
Yeah, so we'll do it Wednesday. We'll be back Wednesday night here in Australia, which will be probably Wednesday morning for UK and where you are. I'm not sure. You check your time zones and you'll figure it out pretty quick. But keep refreshing your subscription page and your podcast page, mate. We'll bob up pretty soon, I reckon, mate. So thanks very much for your time, Craig, as always, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. See you on the next one.
See you, mate. See you, everyone.